So welcome, we're looking at Vishy Anand versus Anatoly Karpov in a blindfold tournament that was held in 2001, and this is really a wonderful game. It started off with e4, followed by c6, d4, d5, e5, advanced Caracan, and we get bishop to f5 with the idea of bringing the bishop outside of the pawn chain. We get knight c3, e6, locking that bishop outside the chain. We get g4 attacking the bishop by Vishy Anand. We get bishop g6, knight g to e2, then we get knight to e7, knight to f4 attacking the bishop but not wanting to take it. And then we get c5 attacking this pawn here in the center. We get h4 with the idea of playing h5 and attacking and ultimately trapping the bishop. So what happens? Well, we see that Karpov takes d4, and instead of taking with the queen, we see this wonderful move b5 with the idea of bringing the knight to what can only be described as a really juicy, beautiful square on d6, checking the king on the next go, attacking these pawns, and really controlling all of these squares here. So a real attacking piece here. So in response to this, Karpov plays knight to e6, protecting, as it were, this square because the bishop can take the knight if it comes in. And then we get h5, which is basically attacking the bishop. And then we get f3, which actually means that the bishop is trapped. So Karpov takes, followed by queen taking on f3. Then knight takes on e5. And we see that Karpov has lost the bishop, has got 3 pawns compensation for it. We get queen to g3, knight to b6, d3, and then f6. Now f6 obviously is a very weakening move. It weakens long term this pawn here on e6. And then we get knight f4 attacking this pawn, and we get king to d7. Now, interesting variation is, what would you have played there? Well, maybe you might have played a seemingly innocuous move of queen d7, but if you play queen d7, you get knight takes the pawn on e6, and you think, well, what have you done there? Well, the truth of the matter is you've captured it and allowed yourself to be the most beautiful fork possible, the king, the queen, and the rook. So that would have been a mistake. Fairly innocuous move, but we see why Karpov played d7. Then we get g5 with the idea that Anand is trying to burst open some lines for his rooks to attack this weakened king. Then we get f5. Then we get a bit of a strange move, c3. And maybe was he thinking, well, we can drop back here, but no, he decides to take with the pawn. So with that, we get Karpov taking on a5. Then we get bishop to d2. Now, bishop to d2 is played with the idea with possibly getting a discovered attack on the queen. Then being able to take on this pawn, which would have to be captured back, and then so you get the knight here. So you'd end up getting a couple of pawns for that. Instead we get queen a4, bishop to e2, bishop to c5, rook to h4, g4, and d3. So of course the idea with the rook move is maybe we can get a discovered attack on the queen, and so it gets blocked off. And then we get d3. Now Karpov, of course, may have been hoping that it might have been taken with the bishop, and if it was taken with the bishop, the queen can take here, and you can see it's a lot more of a pleasant position than it was. But instead we get bishop back. Now the idea of that being, you think, well, the queen here can capture this for free, but indeed it can't. Can you see why that would be a bad move? It'd be a bad move because you'd allow this little fork, discovered check attack, winning the queen, and the game would be over. So instead we get here bishop back, and the next move is queen to c7 check. And considering we're 23 moves deep here, remember this is all completely blindfold, which makes it amazing. We get king to e8, and after queen takes on b7, forking both the knight and the rook. In this position, Karpov resigned. Now Karpov could have dropped back here, allowing Anand to take the rook, while he would take the knight, but after Anand would take the pawn, his winning advantage is just far too great. And in this position, Karpov resigned. So a really interesting game, I'm sure you'd agree. And thank you for watching.